Welcome to the Money Puzzle. I'm Rebecca Powers. So happy to be with you this week. And Brian Ramsey, one of the partners and owners of Family Wealth Planning Partners. Good to see you.
It's good to see you.
So we're going to talk this week about recession, because a lot of people who've been calling your office in Louisville are saying the recession, but the news isn't saying recession. Are we in a recession, and what the heck, who do we believe?
It goes back to what we talked about several weeks ago. We talked about inflation. Do you believe that number?
Yes.
No.
It's
don't.
worse than we think.
Right. It's no different. Recession, the technical definition of recession is two consecutive quarters of declining GDP.
Okay.
By definition, we're in a recession. But what you hear on TV is, oh, well, no, we're not, because there's exception.
Right.
Well, who's to say that if those one exception wasn't there, right, we met that definition, are we in a recession? Really, we're in a recession when you feel the impact of the recession personally, right? That's really what a recession is. There can be all these technical definitions, but it's really if you feel the impact of the economy not being in your favor, then yeah, you could consider that. There's been times where, for example, if you lose your job, well, everybody else may be, employed and have, things are going well.
But you're feeling it.
But you're feeling the punch of being laid off. Is that technically a recession for you? Well, probably. I would probably argue it probably is.
Yeah.
But according to the technical definition, we are. But there are a lot of the folks you watch on TV, or if however you get your information, may say that we're technically not, because there's other factors that play into what normally happen in a recession.
And there's so much noise. It's so hard to even know how, I feel for people in their 70s and 80s. Can you imagine how different it is for them to even understand all this noise? But the good news from you and your firm is that even in recession, there are opportunities. So let's talk about the opportunities to actually grow your wealth during recession.
Well, yeah, they always say buy on the dips, right? Buy on the lows, buy on the dips. That's sort of a fundamental. So yeah, we always tell people that are in their working career, this is the time to increase your contribution to your 401k. Certainly that helps. Yeah. We have folks, we had a lady that came in not too long ago. Her name's Joan. She's a sweetheart. She has, I'd say she probably has $1 million, somewhere right around in there, all in. And she had way too much in her in her savings account. And so we had a conversation about savings account. Well,
wait, I'm sorry, I'm confused. Way too much in her savings account. I've never heard of such a thing.
I get it.
Okay, go ahead, Professor.
This is what I'm getting ready to go to. So we had a conversation around how much should you have in your savings account? And to us, it's a personal preference.
Okay.
I hear it could be 3 months of expenses, 6 months of expenses. Mm-hmm. I don't buy into that. It's really whatever makes you feel comfortable.
Okay.
And so we walked through that process with Joan and said, what is it that makes you feel comfortable? And she goes, well, it's about X amount of dollars. Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well, how much do you have in there? Well, she had about $100,000 more in there than what she made her feel comfortable.
So what's the problem with that? I'm sorry, I'm not following. What would be a better thing to do?
That's an awesome question, because that's where I was going. But no, the problem is that right now we're in a period where we have huge inflation.
Okay.
Right? We had that conversation a couple of weeks ago. But right now we're all experiencing it. So if you have dollars sitting in your savings account, it's effectively losing purchasing power. So she had too much in there that she wasn't going to use for years and years. I mean, she keeps adding to her account. That's a long story.
Okay.
But anyway, so what we said to Joan was, that money is losing purchasing power. So let's do something with it where we can at least keep up with some, help increase the purchasing power. Now, we may not put it in something that's going to keep up the pace of inflation today, meaning 9%, or what we might think is probably 20%,
right,
which is probably reality. But at least let it earn something to where it'll minimize the impact of purchasing power, or diminish purchasing power, because it's just sitting in cash. So we just took the money and we put it in something that has no downside risk, only has upside risk, and over a short period of time. It's only 3 years. So in 3 years, she gets her money back plus interest. And hopefully at that point, things are better, right?
And
The
she
market's
hasn't been
better.
risking it. She hasn't been rolling the dice. She can sleep at night knowing that she may not get a whole bunch, but she's not going to lose.
Well, that's right. And that's exactly what she did. And she's perfectly happy with it. But now she knows she's earning, I think she was like 4%.
Yeah.
So at least she's getting something on the money. And
Right.
It's not just sitting there earning nothing.
Can I guess? Would it be a fixed rate annuity?
It is.
Boom! You see all the things I'm
Hey,
learning?
listen, the fixed annuity is it's like a tool in the toolbox, right?
Right.
So we just had a situation where it made a lot of sense because she didn't want no principal volatility whatsoever, but she wanted to earn some interest. Well, I told her to call your bank. And I just said, let's call your bank and find out what the interest rate was. 2%.
So that's all she'd ever get is 2%.
2% over a 3-year period because we're trying to keep it short term for several reasons. And then we turned around and said, well, let's look at a CD-like instrument and find out what the options are. We called our provider and said, what can I get on a 3-year annuity? Fixed annuity, meaning that there's no downside pressure, really no market risk. They just it's just a stated interest rate that you get over a certain period of time. And we called them, they're like, oh, we can get 4%. It was like 3.75 or 4%. And then she's like, well, that's a lot better than 2%.
Right.
And so we did it. Yeah. And look, at the end of the day, we used that tool in the toolbox to make her feel better.
Yeah.
And that's really what it's all about, is making somebody just say, I feel better knowing that, A, my money's safe.
I know where it is. I know what it's doing.
I know where it is. And I know what my interest rate is. And it's a lot better than sitting in my checking account that's earning absolutely nothing.
Right. And it's funny, a lot of people may not realize that, but I noticed what you just said. You called around because to be an independent the way that this team is, they don't have these products, this, robot mentality where you have to sell products. The universe is open to you. You can call around and see what the best products are, right? Explain that.
Well, yeah, perfect example is Joan.
Yeah.
Right? I could have easily just said, well, here's this fixed annuity, let's just do that. No, let's call your bank.
Yeah.
Because that's where she had her money. Let's call the bank. And we did. So it didn't matter to us where the money went. What mattered to us was that Joan felt good about her decision.
Right.
And I'll tell you, that's one of the things that we pride ourselves on when it comes to other products and everything else. So it's all sort of bundled together is we really believe that every financial decision needs education and information. You have to have both in order to make a good, sound financial decision.
And a relationship. Your whole team is local. You've been here forever.
No, absolutely. I've been in the business 20 years, and I've had the same approach, the entire 20 years.
Right.
And you have to be totally independent because sometimes when you're educating and providing information to a client, it could be a product that's not yours, for example, right? Not something that you could do, like a CD at a bank. That very well could have been the best decision for her, right? But that's okay. It just turned out that it wasn't. But in Joan's case, if that had a higher interest rate, that would have been a great decision for her.
Right.
But that's how you have to approach it is, what is the best solution for the client?
Absolutely.
And you only get that from providing the education and information so that person can make better financial decisions. That's really the foundation of our firm.
I know you're all about education. I know you've taught a lot and you actually do seminars at no charge.
Yep.
So we're going to give that phone number and tell them what they can expect when they come into our office and where we're located.
Right, yeah. So phone number, first of all, 844-900-5210. Our office is located at the corner of Hurstbourne Lane and Shelbyville Road, right behind the P.F. Chang's and the Flash Q building. So when you come in, we're going to offer what we offer every client, which is a complimentary plan, complimentary review. In that review, we provide three things. Number one, cash flow planning. We look at what your cash flow looks like today, all the way out to when you're unfortunately no longer here. We look at risk management, things like life insurance, disability insurance, property and casualty insurance. And then we do a cursory review of your estate documents, just to make sure that your documents reflect what it is that you want to see happen. So those are 3 things specifically you're going to get when you come in. And again, our phone number, 844-900-5210. And I can tell you this, that even no matter when this show airs, if you call, you're going to get one of our partners to answer the phone. If you don't believe me, call that number and find out. And
that is wonderful. You will not get someone in another country. This is Louisville, this is local, and this is your team. 844-900-5210. We do have a certain amount of slots reserved, though, to meet one of the partners next week. So call sooner than later, and we'll be right back.
How confident are you in your current financial plan? Do you know with certainty how the recent market volatility will affect your future hopes and dreams? How much are you paying in taxes? And how much are you losing to unnecessary high fees? you didn't work to save this money so that you could spend your time worried in retirement. Now is the time to take charge of your finances so you can feel confident about your future. Call in during the next 30 minutes of today's show only to set up an absolutely complimentary, no obligation, full-blown financial review that will result in your own customized written plan. This is a $999 value that we're giving away complimentary to the first 10 people who respond. We'll start with a full-blown analysis of what you already have by running a report to untangle how much you are currently paying in fees, how you're allocated for risk, and what it's costing to work with your current advisor. Next, we'll identify your goals. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Where do you want to go, and who do you hope to go there with? Is your current financial plan set up to get you there without mishap? Let's design a roadmap to create a financial plan you can follow with confidence. Get the piece that so many people are missing from their retirement. Find out how having a written plan can make a difference to your retirement dreams. Call now to schedule your complimentary, no obligation, full-blown financial review today.
Thanks for staying with us on The Money Puzzle. And the reason the partners picked this name is because it is a puzzle, and each of you are very, very different with different pieces. And I want to talk about income planning because you are so good at that. The only way you can retire is to have an income plan. So, Brian, where are the sources of income that you start digging for?
Yeah, so when we go through the complementary plan that we talked about, we look at two different sources of income. There's permanent, predictable income sources, and there's non-permanent, non-predictable income sources. Okay, and I'm gonna give you an example.
Okay.
So we walk through permanent, predictable income sources. It's anything income that is guaranteed from the day you accept it until you're no longer here. And we talked about this in another show, but if we look at Social Security as one, a company-provided pension, a personal pension, they're all the same. They pay you a certain amount of income from the day that you accept the benefit until you're no longer here. And it's really all an annuity. That's really what it is.
Really?
That's the definition of an annuity.
Okay.
You get a certain amount of payment guaranteed from the day that you take the benefit until you're no longer here.
Gotcha. Permanent and guaranteed. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's part of the permanent, predictable income sources that we talk about. Okay. So ideally, what we would try to do in a plan is get your permanent, predictable income sources to cover your basic set of expenses. Okay. So, and I'm gonna give you an example. All right. So we had Rick and Debbie. They're a great couple. They're awesome. When they come in, I swear we spend 95% of the time just yakking, and then we're like, oh my gosh, we probably ought to talk about business for a couple of minutes at least. But they're awesome. But the interesting thing was they came to us from the show, and they had worked with a previous advisor. Okay, and so the previous advisor had retired, and then they came to us after that because they were handed off to somebody else, and they're like, no, thank you. But anyway, they came to us and been watching the show, and had actually been watching our podcast that we do as well. But when they came to us, their pensions, they'll see, I believe Debbie was a teacher and Rick had worked at UPS. So they both had pensions. They both had pensions.
Which is a good thing, right?
That's great. Yeah, because they had Social Security and she didn't because she was a teacher.
Yeah.
But he did because he had still had Social Security benefits. But anyway.
Good.
So their permanent, predictable income sources more than covered their monthly need, which is great.
Fantastic.
It's awesome. So their other savings, which they had, let's call it maybe, $1.2 million, $1.3 million, including their house, the value of their home. And so, but they had that pool of money that is in the non-predictable, non-permanent to do other things with. Okay.
Right.
So what they did when they worked with the other advisor is they had taken $400,000 of Rick's 401k and allocated it toward annuities. Now, we were talking about annuities before the break, but they had put these in place. One of them was what we had talked about that Joan wanted, which was basically a fixed annuity. It said, hey, here's the, no downside risk. I'm going to give you a certain amount of money. You're going to tell me how much interest you're going to give me over a certain period of time. And they were just, every time we'd come due, they'd do another one. It would come due, they'd have another one. That's their comfort blanket. Okay. They had also taken about $300,000 and separated into two annuities that have lifetime income benefits, meaning at some point down the road, they could turn that income on and receive a paycheck, a pension for the rest of their life. So they, in fact, created their own personal pensions that can be customized to when they wanted it.
And you like that?
It's awesome. It's a
Okay.
great setup because now, even when we're in a time of a recession or we've had high inflation, the inflation piece I was worried about.
Yeah.
So we'd called them in and said, hey, let's take a look at this. Just make sure you're still, you're still in good shape. And they are. But had they not, and we have situations where because of inflation, all of a sudden you've got a little less money at the end of the month. What they've got are these two annuities that they can turn on at some point down the road and increase their income. So while they don't need it today, those things are still growing, right? It's kind of like the seed and the harvest,
Yeah.
right? They planted a seed. They're going to wait to some point down the road. They're going to turn that on and reap the harvest of it.
That's wonderful.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, can you pay taxes on annuities or now compared to later? Or maybe this is
It's
a
going to
dumb
be taxed
question.
when you take it out. It's just like
Only when you take it out.
correct.
So you can't pay on it now while taxes are lower.
No, well, they could turn it on.
Okay.
They could turn on the income stream now, but they don't need it. And so
Gotcha.
they're going to wait until they get to a point where they need the income stream because they've got plenty of other money. It's
Okay.
not like if they need money to go on vacation or they need to put a roof on or something like that. They've done a great job of saving.
Yeah.
That money was set aside to say, if I need extra permanent, predictable income sources for later down the road, I've got those strategies put in place that I can turn on and increase my permanent, predictable income sources to cover my basic needs. Now, if they called up and said, I need $40,000 because we want to go on a around the world trip, no problem at all. That's what their other money's for.
Right. Play money. There's
play
paid money and play money.
Right.
Okay.
So again, the pay money, right? You just mentioned that. If they needed an extra $500 a month just due to inflation, they had less money at the end of the month, and they needed that money, we could effectively turn on that income source and get them whatever the number is. Let's call it $500, right?
Yeah.
So get them that $500 a month that'll pay them that for the rest of their life.
And all they have to do is call your office. It's not like, I hate to compare to the big box, but it's a completely different experience. When you call one of these places and you're put on hold for an hour and you hear the recording, this is something that's very simple when you have that relationship with your team.
Absolutely. Yeah. They just called them and said, hey, they could, they haven't
Yeah.
yet. But what happened was they were in, we did a full review. That's another thing that kind of separates our firm a little bit, is that we have 3 specific meetings we have throughout the year. The first meeting of the year, we concentrate, it's more of an administrative type meeting, but we review their financial model at the beginning of every year. So they were in, and this past year, we knew inflation was an issue. It's an issue for everybody. It's punched everybody in the face. And we just did an update on their plan to say, well, let's see if if we need to turn these income sources on, and we don't, because they've done a great job of putting things in place.
That's awesome. Let's give that phone number. We need to take a very, very short break, and we'll be back with more. Want to give them that number, please?
Absolutely. 844-900-5210. My message is you've got an opportunity right now to pick up the phone and come in and get a complimentary review, just like everyone else that calls. And you've got a great opportunity to be just like Rick and Debbie and come in and say, let's make sure that we have everything put in place so that in the event we have hyperinflation or we have a recession, which is what we started out talking about, my portfolio and my retirement income can withstand the volatility. You've got an opportunity to do that right now. So pick up the phone, 844-900-5210. And like I said before, if you do call that number, don't be surprised if you get one of us, one of the partners on the phone, because we do answer the phone on the weekends.
Oh, wow, that's awesome. And even if you have someone that you've been working with, you say, no, I'm happy with them. If you're not having these conversations, then you really do need to get a second opinion, and it is, of course, a courtesy. So there's the number again. Stay with us more with Brian Ramsey and how you can retire and have wonderful peace of mind right after this.
As a good saver, you've been putting away money during your working years. Studies find that the biggest fear of retirees is running out of money. Market volatility isn't just the downward movement of stock prices, it's the size and frequency of change. The more dramatic the ups and downs, the higher the volatility. This can put savers who are newly retired or a few years away from being retired at greater risk. Today's generation of retirees is not receiving traditional pensions as our parents or grandparents did. Instead, we have retirement accounts such as 401ks or 403bs. These accounts typically expose your money to market risk. The last thing you want right before retirement is to lose a portion of the money you need for income. But how do you turn these accounts into a retirement income? Is it safe to keep all your retirement money sitting in the stock market? The last thing you want is to lose a portion of the money you need for income due to market loss. By working with a financial professional, you can learn how to turn a portion of your savings into an income stream for life and income for the life of your spouse if you're married. We all have moments in our lives when we wish we had taken action sooner. Don't let procrastination reign on your retirement parade. Act now before it's too late. Please call our office to set up your no-cost, no-obligation retirement income review today.
Welcome back to the Money Puzzle. I want to just remind everyone that we are local. People have said, wait, there's an 844 number. That doesn't mean anything. Let's talk about the location and our wonderful staff, Brian.
Yeah, so we're located at right here in Louisville at the corner of Hurstmore Lane and Shelbyville Road, right behind the PF Chang's and the old Flash Cube, what they call the Flash Cube building. We've been there for almost 2 years now, and it's my partners are Chris Vaughn. He does a TV show with us. And then we have Eric Douglas and Aaron McAndrews also does it. But again, if you just picked up the phone and called, you probably got one of us. So you're probably on the phone talking to us going, wait a minute, but I didn't see you on TV or you just on TV. Is that what I saw you last week? Yeah, we answer the phone. So
that is amazing. It's very, very hands-on.
Yeah.
So estate and legacy. Do you want to go there? Or should we wait for next week? Because that is a whole big, important subject.
It's incredibly important, which is why it is a corner piece to our puzzle.
Okay.
But I want to go back because we briefly talked about annuities, but and we just mentioned them as a form of income.
Okay.
But I want to go back and give another example because I think a lot of times annuities are very misunderstood.
Yeah.
A lot of times people think of it as an investment. Well, it's really just a tool to accomplish something. It's not necessarily something that you have to invest in and then you hope that it appreciates in value and you can use it for somewhere down the road. Sometimes you can use it as a tool to accomplish something specific. And I'm going to give you a good example.
Okay.
So I've got a client, Donna. Donna's she's got about $2.5 million with us. She wanted, when we did her plan, she was big on legacy planning. I know we're talking about estate work, but when I mean legacy planning is she had a policy, a life insurance policy that she specifically wanted to go to these two family members, okay? And so she was nearing retirement. It's a couple years away, and she was like, hey, look, what I want to do is I want to make sure that I can continue to cash flow this life insurance policy, which was about $12,000 a year. So it wasn't like it was a small chunk of change. And I was like, okay, you've got about 3 years before you need to turn this on. Let's do this. Let's call the insurance company and say, how can we design an annuity to make those payments for you? And so we just called the insurance company and said, here's the circumstances. We got 3 years before we need to turn this thing on. We want $12,000 a year. What does she have to deposit today to turn this on in 3 years to get her $12,000? And they came back and said, well, here's the number.
Awesome.
And I said, here's the beauty of this thing, Donna. What we're going to do is we're going to put this lump sum into this annuity. And in 3 years when you retire, and it could be 4 years if you decide to work another year. It doesn't make any difference because it's personalized to you. We're going to flip that switch and they're going to make the $12,000 payment when your premium is due. So your premium was due like in October. We said, that's fine. It's not that it has to be paid in January. We'll tell the insurance company, I want it to be paid a month prior to your premium being due. So now she doesn't have to worry about it anymore. It's a fixed premium on her life insurance policy. The $12,000 is going to be a fixed amount she's going to get for the rest of her life. It's a great solution.
Yeah.
But the only way we knew to do that is because we had done a financial plan. We had conversations with her, and she brought up that was a potential issue for her, right? She was
very
worried
important.
about it.
I mean, some people would say that's not important to me, but for her, it was very important, and you made it happen. So it's all about that big first conversation. What are your dreams? What are your goals? Do you want to leave money to a family member? And it's also very important when you say estate to plan what happens to you if you get sick, right? You don't want your children fighting over some uncertainty. So how important is that?
Well, it's incredibly important. And what's ironic is this is sort of my specialty in our firm.
Okay.
I have a lot of background in estate work. So when we have a client come in, we have conversations around estate work. That's my specialty. And so Chris has his specialty. Aaron has his specialty, and Eric the same. And so what's interesting is the majority of folks walking out the door, we go, well, what happens? Disaster planning. That's really what we call it.
Yeah.
What happens if you pass away? What happens to your money after you're gone? people are like, I don't really know. Or they go, well, we did a will. Well, when'd you last update it? Well, our kids were, in elementary school. How old are they now? Well, we have grandkids.
47.
Yeah, it happens all the time. So what we want to do is we want to make sure, and this is part of our onboarding process. So if you are someone that calls in that says, hey, I'm going to take you guys up on your complimentary review, and you come in, that is not a conversation we have up front, because the estate work needs to be a conversation in itself. So the first meeting is really all about cash flow planning and risk management. Now, if you choose to move forward, and hopefully you do, then we talk about estate work. And we actually flow chart. So we've worked with lots of attorneys in town, and attorneys flow chart your estate. They go, it looks like an old org chart, if you've ever remember those. Like, here's the president, then he has vice presidents, and you've seen those before.
Right.
So we flow chart everyone's estate. And we say, okay, what happens if something happens to, if you're married? What happens if something happens to your spouse? Where does your money go? What happens if something happens to both of you? And so we flow chart it all out. Here's who, here's who gets my money. Here's when they get it. Here's how they get it. And so what we do is we find that when we flow chart it all out and we sit down with a client, we show them a picture of how their money flows when one of them passes away, when the second one passes away, how do their kids get it? What's the benefit by using trust planning? When we show them that, it's sort of an aha moment.
Yeah.
Oh, I get it. I see what it looks like.
And then you can make easy decisions.
Absolutely.
They can, once you lay it all out.
Absolutely. And again, it goes back to education and information.
That's right.
That's what we're all about. But the other benefit to that is we do all that as part of our service. We then take that flow chart, we give it to an attorney and say, draft the documents according to the flow chart.
That's awesome.
So the good thing is there's no sitting down with an attorney and him Q&A and you on what do you want to see happen. We've already had those in-depth conversations.
Right. And
all they have to do is verify, oh yeah, you want this done with your trust, or you want this person to play that particular role.
Well, and the awesome thing is, let's be honest, attorneys charge you by the minute. I mean, by the hour.
Oh, by the minute.
By the minute, they really do.
No,
so if you've done that part in that conversation, that is already saving. You know what I mean? You're already saving the money by doing that.
Absolutely, and that is what we offer everyone that walks in our door, is that complimentary review. And look, if it's something you want to talk about from estate and that's what you're worried about, and you don't care about the cash flow piece, that's fine. Come in, we'll talk about that too. Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Brian. I always learn so much from you. And thank you at home for joining us. There's the number one more time, 844-900-5210. And we hope to see you again next week.